In the early months of the global pandemic, when the world fell silent and routines collapsed into uncertainty, a young Brazilian engineering student unknowingly altered the trajectory of her life with a single spontaneous upload. That student was Larissa Liveir, and the upload, a 10-second video of her playing the guitar, would go on to spark a digital wildfire. At a time when social feeds were saturated with sourdough recipes and at-home workouts, Larissa's clips sliced through the noise with raw talent and electrifying focus. There was no intro, no flashy effects, just her, a guitar, and a presence that made viewers stop scrolling. The response was immediate. Within days, her view count jumped from the hundreds to the thousands and then skyrocketed into the millions. Music blogs took notice, social media reshared her work in viral waves, and YouTube's algorithms seemed to propel her into global feeds overnight. Yet beyond the viral metrics, what truly caught the world off guard was the sheer clarity of her playing. Each note deliberate, each solo filled with control and emotion far beyond her years. She wasn't just another guitarist posting covers. She was a new kind of digital artist who had figured out how to collapse charisma, skill, and timing into seconds. As millions discovered her channel, the question shifted from who is this girl to where did she come from? And perhaps more pressingly, what happens next? Before the spotlight, before the fans, before the algorithms took her name global, Larissa Liveir was simply a university student, juggling lectures, lab work, and the slow grind of an engineering curriculum. Like countless others, the COVID-19 pandemic pulled her out of school and forced her back into her childhood bedroom. Only she didn't waste the isolation. Instead, she picked up her guitar, pressed record, and unknowingly rewrote her entire future. Her first uploads were modest, short clips of her playing classic rock riffs, interspersed with occasional full-length covers, but they carried an edge, an undeniable precision and emotional pull that set her apart from the sea of homebound creators. It wasn't long before the likes of Guns N' Roses, Van Halen, and Pink Floyd fans started resharing her work, marveling at her technical control and the expressive phrasing that seemed to pour from her fingertips. These weren't just renditions, they were performances, miniature concerts, emotionally packed into digestible, social-friendly formats. The timing was perfect. As people around the world craved connection and comfort, Larissa delivered nostalgia with a twist of discovery, reminding older fans of why they fell in love with rock while giving younger audiences a fresh face to rally behind. And just like that, her journey as a digital rock star had begun, not from a label or stage, but from the quiet hum of a quarantined home. Larissa's relationship with music didn't begin during the pandemic. It started much earlier when she was just 8 years old, driven by a childhood curiosity that quickly evolved into an all-consuming passion. She had no formal training, no prestigious music academy behind her. Instead, she turned to the only teacher she could consistently rely on, the internet. YouTube tutorials, slow motion playthroughs, tabs shared on forums. This was her curriculum. Her early musical tastes leaned toward pop and electronic, the kind of soundscape common among kids growing up in the early 2000s. But everything changed in her teens when she discovered the visceral power of rock, blues, and metal. The transition to electric guitar marked a turning point, not just in her sound, but in her identity. Hours turned into days, weeks into years, as she built her skill set brick by brick. Her fingers developed not just speed, but articulation. She learned how to make her guitar speak, to cry, to scream. Influences like Slash, David Gilmour, and Eddie Van Halen didn't just inspire her, they became her remote mentors, guiding her through thousands of hours of practice. It's rare to find someone so young with such refined phrasing, and even rarer to see it developed outside the formal pipeline of music instruction. But Larissa's playing is proof that obsession, when harnessed correctly, can be its own form of education, one that's arguably more personal, more intense, and ultimately more impactful. The rise of Larissa Liveir isn't just a story of musical skill. It's a masterclass in how to play the algorithm without selling out. In a digital landscape saturated with creators screaming for attention, she took the opposite approach. Her videos didn't beg for clicks, they demanded them. From the very first second, her clips start mid-action, a riff already in motion, a solo mid-bend, a crescendo waiting to explode. There's no fluff, no talking, no setup, just pure musical intensity. And that's what makes them so effective. In a world ruled by short attention spans, Larissa understood that the first 3 seconds weren't just important, they were everything. Her 10-second YouTube shorts and TikToks became viral ammo, each one doubling as both a teaser and a statement piece. But there was calculation behind the creativity. Every clip was tightly edited, visually polished, and acoustically pristine. She cross-posted on platforms with algorithmic synergy, stacking engagement across Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And while many of her peers fell into the trap of overexposure, Larissa kept her mystique intact, revealing just enough to keep audiences coming back. Still, virality has its limits. Because she was covering copyrighted songs, much of her revenue was redirected to the original rights holders. In response, she steered her fans toward Patreon, a platform that allowed her most loyal followers to support her directly and help fund her journey into original compositions. In doing so, she not only survived the digital economy, she rewrote its rules in her favor. While most of the world associates Larissa Liveir with the gritty licks of classic rock and the soaring lines of metal solos, few realize that the real magic in her music lies in something far subtler, something deeply Brazilian. Born and raised in the culturally rich state of Minas Gerais, Larissa absorbed the sounds of her homeland like a sponge. Although her public persona leans heavily on Western rock, her internal compass has long been guided by the rhythmic complexity and melodic nuance of Brazilian music. Artists like Baden-Powell, João Gilberto, and Tom Jobim left a lasting impression on her early development, not as front and center influences, but as background rhythms that shaped her sense of timing and space. She often speaks about the swing of Brazilian music, its syncopation, its unexpected pauses, its gentle push and pull, and how that texture finds its way into her rock playing even when listeners don't consciously notice it. Larissa's phrasing carries the fingerprints of samba, her dynamic shifts mirror the subtle drama of bossa nova, and her rhythmic instincts often break free from the rigid 4/4 structure of Western genres. Looking ahead, she has expressed a clear interest in making this influence more explicit. She plans to collaborate with traditional Brazilian musicians, experiment with native instruments like the berimbau and cavaquinho, and craft a sound that bridges her two musical worlds. If rock was her platform, Brazil is her foundation, and she's only just begun to build the bridge between them. As Larissa Liveir's name began circulating more widely in digital music circles, so did the darker side of visibility: burnout, unsolicited judgment, and an ugly battle for legitimacy in a space still fraught with double standards. The demand to consistently produce high-quality content, perfect sound, flawless execution, crisp visuals became not just a creative expectation, but an emotional weight. Fans eagerly awaited each new upload, and the algorithm rewarded frequency, but the cost was steep. Larissa has spoken openly about the emotional and physical fatigue that came with chasing perfection, often spending days just to record and edit a single performance. Yet even as she pushed herself to meet her own impossible standards, a small but vocal segment of the internet had already decided she didn't belong. Accusations that she was gaining fame solely because of her appearance, not her musicianship, began to surface in comment threads, forums, and video responses. It was a familiar trope. Talented woman enters male-dominated space, and suddenly the merit of her work is questioned, her success reduced to aesthetic appeal. Larissa, to her credit, didn't escalate. She responded with poise, letting her technique and dedication speak volumes. In interviews, she emphasized the daily hours she pours into practice, the years she spent honing her skills alone in her room, and her unshakable belief that quality always outlasts noise. By calling out the double standard without descending into bitterness, she not only defended her place at the table, she earned even greater respect from supporters who recognize the quiet strength it takes to fight sexism with excellence. At the height of her visibility on YouTube, Larissa Liveir's sudden silence on the platform raised eyebrows and sparked speculation. Had she quit music, hit a creative wall, or shifted to something new? The reality, as she later explained, was far more grounded in strategy and sustainability. Though her YouTube videos attracted millions of views and helped establish her global reputation, they also came with a brutal cost structure. Because most of her uploads featured cover songs, copyright law dictated that the majority of ad revenue was routed to the original rights holders. So while the numbers looked impressive on the surface, her actual income was limited. Add to that the emotional toll of producing long-form, highly edited videos and enduring increasingly toxic comment sections, and YouTube became less a home and more a high-pressure stage. In contrast, platforms like Instagram and TikTok offered a faster, more rewarding feedback loop. The shorter format allowed her to create spontaneous content without sacrificing her health or burning out. More importantly, the communities on those platforms proved more engaged, more supportive, and less likely to tear her down over appearance or trivial missteps. Larissa began shifting her creative energy into these platforms, reaching new audiences while maintaining closer, more personal interactions with longtime fans. She also leaned harder into Patreon, a move that gave her followers a direct way to support her art without the financial complications of platform gatekeeping. Far from fading away, Larissa was simply repositioning herself, choosing longevity and creative freedom over algorithms that no longer served her vision. With fame comes fascination. And as Larissa Liveir's subscriber count climbed into the millions, curiosity about her personal life surged alongside it. Fans, bloggers, and gossip accounts began speculating wildly. Was she dating? Who were the people seen in the background of her Instagram stories? Did her lyrics or song choices hint at a secret relationship? Yet, despite the growing pressure to satisfy that curiosity, Larissa chose a different route: silence. In a time when many influencers capitalize on relationship drama for clicks and engagement, she drew a clear line around her private life. "My guitar," she once said in an interview, "is my most honest relationship." It was more than a clever soundbite. It was a statement of intent. She wanted to be known for her craft, not her dating history. That hasn't stopped the rumors, of course. There have been whispers linking her to local celebrities, producers, and even athletes, but none have ever been confirmed, and she's never addressed them directly. What little is known about her personal life comes from brief, carefully worded interviews in which she consistently pivots the conversation back to music. Financially, it's reported that she's doing well, with a net worth in the low millions thanks to sponsorships, brand collaborations, and her growing success with Honeybomb, her all-female cover band. But again, there's no flaunting, no luxury cars or influencer house tours. Larissa keeps the spotlight on her artistry, not her lifestyle, building a persona rooted in privacy, purpose, and creative integrity. Now standing on the threshold of her next chapter, Larissa Liveir is preparing to evolve beyond the identity that made her famous. The cover queen moniker, once a badge of honor, has begun to feel like a limitation, and she's ready to break out. In recent months, she's teased snippets of original material, dropping fragments of riffs and melodies that hint at a more complex, hybrid sound. It's a sound that doesn't fit neatly into any one box. It's part rock, part blues, part metal, and unmistakably threaded with the rhythm and spirit of Brazil. Larissa has hinted at plans to release an EP featuring original songs, many of which are shaped by her long-standing influences, but designed to carve out a unique sonic identity. She's also working closely with Honeybomb, where she continues to experiment with new textures, arrangements, and genre-blending performances. There's talk of including traditional Brazilian instruments and collaborating with local musicians to create a fusion that reflects both her cultural roots and her global perspective. For Larissa, this shift isn't just about musical evolution, it's about taking ownership. Covers built her audience, but originals will define her legacy. It's a risk, stepping away from the comfort of familiar songs and into the vulnerable space of creation. But if her track record of self-discipline, authenticity, and strategic brilliance is anything to go by, she's more than ready for the leap. This is no longer about interpreting the voices of others. It's about finding and amplifying her own. Larissa Liveir's rise wasn't manufactured in a boardroom or backed by a record label. It was handcrafted, note by note, from the confines of a bedroom during one of the most uncertain periods in recent history. In just a few short years, she has transformed from an unknown student to a household name among guitar enthusiasts and music lovers around the world. But her story is more than a feel-good tale of viral fame. It's a testament to the power of discipline, resilience, and vision. Larissa didn't chase trends. She chased sound. She didn't follow the blueprint of fame. She wrote her own chords. Along the way, she's tackled burnout, silenced detractors, and carved out a space in the music industry that is entirely her own. As she now transitions from a viral interpreter to a full-fledged creator, she does so with a community behind her, a clear sense of direction, and an unwavering commitment to staying true to herself. Her journey proves that talent alone isn't enough. It's the combination of obsession, integrity, and smart navigation of modern platforms that turns a dream into reality. Whether she's shredding through a Hendrix solo, exploring Brazilian fusion, or debuting an original ballad, one thing is clear. Larissa Liveir isn't just playing music. She's redefining what it means to be a musician in the digital age, and this is only the beginning.